Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a friend and just felt totally drained? Or on the flip side, completely energized and inspired? Or maybe you've suddenly caught yourself using a new catchphrase and you realize, oh, I got that from them. Well, there are these powerful, almost invisible forces that are constantly shaping our lives. And today, we're going to put one of the biggest ones right under the microscope: the people you surround yourself with. Now, I'm sure you've heard this one before, right? It's that famous quote from the motivational speaker Jim Rohn. It's super catchy, it's simple, and honestly, it just feels kind of true. But what's really going on behind that statement? Is it just a nice thing to say, or is there some real hard science to back it up? Let's dig in. Okay, so the first thing we need to get straight is that the number 5 is really more of a metaphor. It's a great starting point, for sure. But the whole idea of social influence, it's so much bigger and more complex than that. It's like a ripple in a pond. We're not just an average of 5 people. We're kind of the average of our entire network. But hang on, this idea isn't the whole story, not by a long shot. It's missing some really key pieces of the puzzle. For one, that simple average of 5 idea totally glosses over the massive impact of your past. Your childhood, old friends, all that stuff literally wired your brain. It also overlooks that wider network we just mentioned. And let's be real, it's definitely not a magic pill. Just hanging out with a bunch of artists isn't going to magically make you Picasso. You still got to put in the work, you know?
But that extended network? Oh, this is where things get really fascinating. It turns out that social behaviors are, for lack of a better word, contagious. They can spread through a social network just like a virus. And there's a classic study on obesity that shows just how far these ripples can actually go. So, a couple of researchers, Nicholas Christakakis and James Fowler, they tracked this huge social network for years, and they found that if someone you consider a close friend becomes obese, well, that has a direct impact on your own health. But the question is, how much of an impact?
57%. Just let that sink in for a second. That's a massive, staggering increase. It just goes to show how much our friends' behaviors and what they consider normal can influence our own choices, a lot of the time without us even noticing. But here's where it gets really wild. So that influence doesn't just stop with the people you know directly. Nope, it keeps on traveling. What happens when we go out one more step to a friend of your friend, someone you might not have ever even met?
Your risk still jumps by 20%. Think about that. You are being influenced by the lifestyle choices of people you don't even know. This is just a brilliant illustration of the fact that we're all swimming in this huge sea of social influence that goes way, way beyond what we can see right in front of us.
So this all brings up a really big question. How? How does this influence actually work? I mean, it's not magic, right? It's psychology. It's neuroscience. There are some very specific things happening in our brains and in our social groups that make us so open to the people around us. All right, first up, we've got these things called mirror neurons. These are incredible little brain cells that fire up not only when we do something, but also when we see someone else do that same thing. You can think of it as our brain's built-in imitation software. So when you're around people who are super ambitious, your brain literally starts to unconsciously mirror that ambition. It's wild. Next up is something called social proof. As humans, we are constantly looking for clues on how to act. When you're in a new or uncertain situation, what's the first thing you do? You look around to see what everyone else is doing, right? So if everyone in your circle is really into a healthy lifestyle, you naturally start to see that as the correct or normal way to live. We are absolutely hardwired to follow the herd. And that leads us right into the conformity effect. This is all about our deep, primal need to belong. There were these famous experiments by a psychologist named Solomon Asch, where he showed that people would give a blatantly wrong answer to a simple question just to fit in with the group. That pressure to align with the group is so powerful that we'll often just adopt their behaviors to avoid being the odd one out. And this pressure to conform, it kind of comes in 2 flavors. You've got descriptive norms, which is what we see people actually doing, like if you see a bunch of litter on the street. Then you have injunctive norms, which is what we think society approves or disapproves of, like a sign that says, please don't litter. Your social circle is a powerful force in shaping both of these for you. And here is where we need to give this whole idea a modern update. Because today, our circle is not just the people we see face to face. Oh no. The newsletters you're subscribed to, the podcasts you have playing in your ears, the social media accounts you follow, all of that has become part of your modern-day inner circle. The influencers you watch are setting new social proof, and those podcasters, they're firing up your mirror neurons. Every single piece of content you consume is a direct input that's helping to shape your brain. So, Knowing all this, what can we actually do about it? The good news is we don't have to just be passive passengers getting pushed around by our environment. We can actually become the architects of it. And the very first step is to do something called a social audit. This is a really straightforward, but trust me, incredibly powerful exercise. First, you're just going to list the 5 to 10 people who have the biggest influence on you. And this can be anyone: family, friends, coworkers, even online mentors. Step 2, you rate their impact. Be brutally honest with yourself here. On a scale of 1 to 5, do they leave you feeling inspired and energized, or more drained and discouraged? And then third, based on those ratings, you figure out what you want to change.
So here's kind of what that might look like in real life. Maybe you realize Bob is a bit of a downer, a 2 out of 5, so you decide to consciously limit hanging out to maybe once a month. But Julie, she's a total 5-star friend, incredibly inspiring, so you make a point to schedule a weekly call with her. This isn't about being ruthless and cutting people out of your life. It's just about consciously curating where you invest your time and energy.
And that brings us to the final and I think most empowering idea of all. You are not just a product of your environment. You are the curator of it. You have the power to choose who and what you allow to influence you. So, what should you be looking for? Well, you want to seek out people who are passionate, who are connected to their purpose. You want positive role models, people who can give you skilled, helpful feedback, not just criticism. You want to surround yourself with conversations that are about ideas and growth, not just gossiping and complaining. I love this quote from Hans F. Hassan. It really just sums the whole thing up perfectly. Every single interaction you have is either an energy deposit or an energy withdrawal. And the choice of who you allow into that inner circle is honestly one of the most important decisions you can make for your own happiness and your own growth. So, I'll leave you with this. Your environments, both the people you're with and the content you consume, it is shaping you every single day, whether you're paying attention to it or not. The real question isn't if you're being shaped. The question is who and what are you letting shape you?